If you want to find more balance in your homeschool mom life, stick around because I've got a conversation that will help shift you toward the feeling of balance.
This is rivalry. We have mom first impressions only, she says. We have Rachel's if I don't win, someone's gonna die before we leave. And Zachary, I just wanna win. It's not fair. The game goes on.
Welcome to the Homeschool Mom Wellness and Mindset channel. I'm Teresa Wiedrich, the certified life coach and homeschool mentor here on YouTube. My family and I wandered through libraries and museums on school days for many years, but it typically started about mid-September, maybe October, after our travel season was complete. And we routinely enjoyed the cozy charm of cafe schooling or minivan schooling, driving to violin and choir and theater and soccer and, all the things. By year 3 or 4, I learned that homeschooling is a lot more than just academics. It's been a life lived on our own terms, authentically, purposefully. By year 8, we were confidently homeschooling, but homeschooling wasn't always the charmed life that I'd initially imagined. I faced my fair share of challenges, I'm sure you have too, and all of those challenges led me to deeper personal growth and me becoming more me, authentically, confidently, and purposefully. I discovered that homeschooling was a lifestyle that equipped all of us to live more authentically and purposefully. It was learning to understand myself, addressing my needs, and building healthier relationships with myself, with others in my home, and even my relationship to education itself. All these things changed everything. Over the last couple of decades, I've connected with countless homeschool moms who share similar challenges. It's an experience that many of us choose to do by ourselves, but you don't have to. That's why I'm here. I'm passionate about supporting homeschool moms like you to shed what's not working so you can enjoy your homeschool mom life more. If you join me in coaching, I'll guide you to help you clarify what matters to you and for your homeschool family. You'll let go of what's not working and begin living more intentionally. You'll have more margins. You'll have that feeling of balance. I believe every homeschool mom deserves to feel confident, connected, and at peace in her homeschool journey. So if you're looking to feel more balance in your homeschool mom life, I want to share with you my story. Once upon a time, Brené Brown, her first TEDx talk, changed my homeschool life. Quite literally, it changed my mind, my approach to myself, and to others. Because I know how impacting it was on my homeschool family life, I share the lessons here, how boundaries changed my homeschool life. That challenging morning when I hit a wall in my homeschool life, I realized I didn't know who I was beyond a burned out homeschool mom. If you haven't already heard my story, I'll make sure to link that above. I knew I didn't want to homeschool anymore. I knew I was done with managing interpersonal conflict because there's a little bit of it. I also certainly knew that I was done, tired, exhausted by forcing and requiring kids to sit at the kitchen table and learn. What I didn't understand was that a very large part of why I was dealing with burnout was because I didn't have a strong sense of my needs or how I wanted to engage in relationships or what I expected of others in relationship, and I had no idea who I was beyond homeschool mom. If you had asked me what I did for myself then, I might have shared that most Wednesday evenings I went to Starbucks for a pumpkin spice latte and a scone, and I wrote my heart out. That is actually the origin story of my website, Capturing the Charmed Life. I started it at Starbucks. I wrote about why I loved homeschooling. I wrote why I didn't. And I wrote how kid interactions were exhausting me, what wasn't working, and how I wish it were different. Yet, how it was better than the school lifestyle that we had previously been in, for sure. But this act of regular Starbucksing, I'm going to use Starbucks in a verb, it was just keeping my head above water, surviving, as they say, not thriving. And one fateful February day in slump month, I remember hitting a wall of my own dissatisfaction and frustration. And that shifted everything. Over the next few years, I learned a few lessons that radically shifted how I approached myself, how I approached my relationships, and even how I approached my relationship with myself, with my thoughts about myself. I share 6 lessons here. The first one is that when we get connected to our feelings, really get clear on how to identify them and learn what they're telling us, we grow in greater insight about ourselves. We become kinder to ourselves and therefore naturally also respond more kindly to others too. The second thing I learned is that we can relate symbiotically to the benefit of us and the other person. We need to listen to what they need. We need them to be able to share clearly what they need, and we need to do the same. The third lesson is that sometimes we see behavior in our kids that we don't want to see, and we know it won't be an adult functional behavior. We know that they won't benefit in their relationships if they show up in their childlike state. So we gently lead them in learning what they need to learn, all the while acknowledging that we can't also change who they are at core. Oh, we surely will try at times. I definitely have. Since we know that we're ultimately responsible for imprinting and influencing them and coaching them, and because we deeply care for them, we want the best for them, we try to enable them to be who they are supposed to be. So we tell ourselves they are supposed to be a certain way. And it doesn't always match up to what we see with their not adult functional behavior. And so we try to make them into something they aren't. At the end of the day, we will always discover that we are not in control of them. We're just influencing them. The fourth lesson I learned is that with or without research, I've seen it in myself and I've seen it in others, that when I identify how I feel, identify how my body feels, and I can succinctly describe my feelings with clarity, I feel less overwhelmed by those feelings. I don't know why it is, but I've learned that these intense feelings that we sometimes have as humans, they don't last. They always pass, no matter how intense they may be. Like clouds in the sky, like a weather system on the weather radar, our intense feelings will pass. Identifying our feelings helps teach us a little bit more about our emotional climate. The fifth lesson I've learned is that the homeschool lifestyle encourages us to live our lives intentionally. In a way, probably because it's off the beaten path in the first place. It's outside of the scope of whatever is normal. Maybe it's more normal now than when I began, but it's still not considered the beaten path. And this off the beaten path approach compels us to strengthen the muscle of being different, which compels us towards independent thinking, outside the box thinking, which is a beautiful thing because then we can lean into being our authentic selves. And the sixth lesson that I learned is that homeschooling is a whole lot more satisfying when we share the journey, the authentic, vulnerable journey alongside others. I believe strengthened boundaries and healthy relationships are two sides of the same coin. When we strengthen our boundaries or we bolster our boundaries, we are strengthening and bolstering our relationships. And we all want that in our homeschool families. If you've ever thought about the link or the intersection between authenticity and boundaries, in a nutshell, I've seen that being your authentic self means that you're valuing you as much as others, which leads to setting clearer, healthier relational expectations. As Brené Brown puts it, compassion and boundaries go hand in hand. So how authentically are you showing up in your homeschool life? You can assess by asking yourself these 5 questions. Grab your journal Pause the video and answer these 5 questions. First question, are your daily activities aligned with who you really are? Second question, are your emotions genuine or are they masked based on who you're with? Third question, do you feel comfortable and genuine in your interactions with everyone, anyone? Fourth question, do you feel at ease in your life, present and alive? And fifth question, are you addressing your needs too? I know you're addressing your children's needs. You're probably addressing many other people's needs outside of your children. Are you addressing your needs too? If you want to create space and time for you to explore some of these things, consider joining me in coaching. You're welcome to book a no-obligation conversation to learn more about coaching and how I can support you in your journey. I've created a Build Your Boundaries journaling workbook just for homeschool moms. So if you want to go further in a discussion on building boundaries, bolstering your relationships, getting clearer on who you are and affirming who you are, then I suggest you check this out. You can use it in your morning routine each morning. It would be appropriate for me to close with a Brené Brown quote that perfectly aligns with everything I'm speaking to today. And it's this: daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. If this video was an encouragement for you, would you consider sharing it with a friend who you think would benefit too? Now, I'd like to hear from you. Where do you find boundary challenges in your homeschool mom life? Share your thoughts below, and I'm happy to interact with you. And before you go, make sure you like and subscribe. You can hear from me next week. And if you're not hearing this from anyone else, I want you to know I've done this work, so I know you can too. Until next week, you've got this, girlfriend.